Hey there, Bridgette Dolgoff, Conscious of Economics and Urban Farm Project. Today is video 4, I think, of the thyroid. And so I just wanted to open with with what I do. I consider myself to be formally trained by traditional osteopaths, which are not DOs or doctors of osteopath. I trained and studied and learned with people that were really old. I have continued education. I like to call what I do energy and structural medicine. And it applies across land, plants, farming, humans, animals. Though, my private practice extends more towards humans and animals, and more recently in the last 15 years to land, insects, soil and things of that nature. Okay, so I have education in kinesiology, acupressure, acupuncture. I do a rare type of acupressure work, which I call structural acupuncture. I've been in energy and structural medicine for 30 years. I've studied with shamanic people. I do structural reprogramming, reboots, brain. I work on and with, the whole biological systems, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, the whole 9 yards. And with nutrient, I have way different ideas and how I deal with my practice in nutrition. And I do online appointments and as well. And I work on people physically, in person, and animals. So I think that kind of about covers it. So today we're going to do a three-point thyroid massage. And this is good if you have a massage or you have a thyroid or you don't have a thyroid. And there's 3 parts of it, and they have developed it over quite a bit of time. And I've tried each massage by itself. Some days, you only have time to do one. When I get highly stressed out, it's super good to do all 3 of them. And by the time I get done with all 3, I'm literally like, just like totally like blissed out, and all my stress is gone. Because I'm reactivating, if you go to the 3rd video, I'm reactivating the bridge between my will in the 3rd chakra through the heart, which brings us into the present moment and the now, and then into the throat, which is divine will, where divine will is activated. So, a lot of funky things can happen in the thyroid and the thymus. It takes, it's like, what could go wrong? Everything could go wrong in those areas. A neck injury, emotional, where you're withholding, and you can't speak about how you feel or what's going on, abuse, post-traumatic stress disorder. It all kind of really has a brunt. It has a brunt to many other areas of the body, but when you can't breathe and you're like in shock, it just stops the 3rd chakra or diaphragm from working and pumping, and it stays locked. Sometimes in order to heal different things or open things up in people's bodies and different parts of the bodies, I've got to go in there and actually dig my fingers in up underneath the rib cage and then through the gut and everything to release the diaphragm from all the post-traumatic stress, dramas that have been carried out on the person, because each one of them locks it more and more to where it's solid and it doesn't move. So then it's really hard to get up through the heart into the now and cross that bridge into divine will. And so so we stay in a broken 3rd chakra, and the imbalance of it is insecurity and ego tism. And then the heart helps us to bring into the now. But you've got to break out of the what I call the third chakra battle and that diaphragm locked area in order to move up. So sometimes it's good to just go to the thyroid area and just work with it so that you can fake it till you make it and get that divine will to work, and those chemicals and hormones, or hormones equals harmonics, getting your harmonics working with, the higher levels. So you got the throat, the pituitary. I did a video on my channel years ago about the upgrade in chakras that we acquired in 95. Most people's aren't even open. I mean, they're like little blips, but we haven't really evolved yet. I mean, this is the thing is, it's all been presented to us to help us before we've needed it. But the problem is that we can't get into the present moment and then activate it through the divine will to bring it about into, our biological materials, our mental materials, our emotion materials, and our spiritual materials. So anyway, yeah, so maybe I'll give I don't know if I've done a video on the 64. I think I have. Oh, anyway, someday I'll give a layout of the 64 dimensional layers and how that operates, because we're dealing with this system, this reality, and the rules that govern it, right? In order to move past and achieve health and a lot of the other things that you may desire. Okay, so the first thyroid massage or throat massage thing is going to be more of a flicking. And it comes from an Ayurvedic background for the thyroid. But I've upscaled it and I use a little bit of flicking. And, I always get this comment all the time, tapping. Tapping's okay for when you first wake up. But after you wake up, it's going to be invalid. And you're going to have to upscale, your healing. There are a lot of things that work really well when you're first waking up or helping you to wake up, but they're obsolete after that point. Okay, so, all right, so it's kind of like, so I have a little bit of coconut oil on, right, already. So this one you want about medium friction. You don't want, and how do I explain friction? So this would be light. That would be light friction. You see how it barely pushes the skin? This would be medium friction, a little bit deeper where you're rolling the skin a little bit. And then there's deep friction where it creates a really big pocket, right? So we're not going to be doing any deep friction. So this one in particular, we're doing medium friction flick. Okay. So what I like to do is I like to start basically here at the top of the K27s, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. And my take, because of my education and 30 years of working with the K27s. So I'm going to talk about that at kind of more at the end. That's going to be the K27 part massage. So I like to get right about there. And on this side, you can feel a muscle line that goes all the way up to right here. So if you put your fingers in, you can actually peel it apart here. That's what we're going to be working with, that muscle on both sides. And yeah, it's not going to feel the same on both sides. One side's going to be tighter and shorter, and one's going to be longer and looser. So yeah, if it doesn't feel right on the same sides, that means it's because it's not, and you're not symmetrical, and your body has what's called massive lateralization, which is a video that I'm going to talk about after this one. It means that one side of your brain is working and one side of your brain is not, and that your structure over time collapses from the moment of birth, and then all of the different mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical traumas that happen keep widening the gap. That's why you'll see people that, have one eye shorter than the other, or one eye will have more tension. Cheeks will sometimes be, my nose has a tendency to go this way because of the darn late in life orthodontics that I was talked into when I was like 30, which is probably, I'm anti-orthodontics because it does really bad stuff to the structure of the skull. It causes long-term vision problems, short-term, long-term vision problems, short-term, long-term hearing problems, your ears not being able to drain, sinuses, cause serious problem with sinuses and sinus blockages, can cause chronic headaches, blocks the whole diaphragm that's here in the face, and the one that you deal with here, and this one up here. So, and it controls what you're going to say. You've just messed with divine will and how divine will comes together. It's way better to have crooked teeth and be who you are than to go messing with the whole structure. Okay, so I'm going to stick my fingers in here, right? Those muscles there. So I'm going to take these two fingers and I'm going to do medium friction, right? And I'm going to slowly flick and move the muscle. It's a light flick, kind of moving the muscle out of the way, but the way that it rolls over it is kind of a flick. And so I use one hand to go up and down. Oh, it already starts to feel good. It's like you can just release so much tension in your body. I mean, you could do this at your desk. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing over here with this side. I'm just going to change fingers. Oh. And it just kind of starts to get your harmonics going. So, positive hormones or positive harmonics. Oh, that's so good. Because if you think about hormones and positive or negative hormones, and they will release out of your body, they affect your body cellularly. They affect your just about everything in your body. And then they will off-gas into your environment. So animals pick this up, like when you're afraid, say you have a horse and you get on the horse and it freaks out and tosses you to the curb. It's because you're emitting a smell, a fierce smell that's a hormone that was produced. So your brain goes, oh no. Your brain goes, I'm scared. And then and then your body starts to produce a chemical called I'm scared, I'm terrified. And then it releases that hormone or peptide, and it releases through your body, and it literally attaches onto every cell in your body, right? So now that's the predominant thing, that the chemical, the hormone that's being released into your body. So when it starts to off gas, animals can smell it. They can smell it probably really far away. Like if you're terrified and you're alone in the wilderness, animals are going to smell that. And you're probably going to be attacked by a wild animal because it can smell it really far. And if you're afraid, it's going to think you're wounded, something is seriously wrong with you, and you might be available for dinner. So it's really important in our environment. I think humans can kind of smell this. And also, it changes the, we'll call it the geometrical structure of our environment. I mean, if, things like Sanskrit, ancient Hebrew, traditional Arabic languages, when spoken in perfection, can change cells, can change water droplets, can change the air molecules, and changes the geometrical structures. I mean, let's just take it a little bit further than Emoto's work with water, into a chanting, a language, a speech that emanates light and changes everything around it into light. Your blood, your water can change everything in your systems and outside of you. That means that your hormones are harmonics, right? Because they're changing the geometrical structure pattern outside of you. So it's not so bad to have fear in a lot of these things. Sometimes you need it for, important temporary survival. But to be in it long term, and how it changes the the structures in everything that you occupy and around you for miles, you can see how you might only attract that which you are. Kind of an idea. Okay. Oh, that feels so much better after the first one, doesn't it? And you can do it a couple times. You go back and forth. Like if you only do one, you only have time to do, one massage, you may want to do it like 2 or 3 times. On the one spot. Like that, right? Just do it a couple times and you can just feel that. Okay, the second one is much more difficult and it can really wear your arms out. And also in hot yoga or, standing yoga type breathing, there is a movement that they usually do in Bikram yoga at the beginning, but it's more like, I think it's more like, I have to think about how, I forget how it goes. It's something like back and forward. I think it might be like this, and then I can't remember exactly what it is. But it's going to be a little bit similar to this. But it's going to be really easy. This one is light friction. Really light friction. You don't need a lot. This one comes from some texts of women like, 1400s or whatever, maybe even later, documented that they would do for youth remaining, the being really old, but their face and their skin being super young. So this was part of like, a regimen that they would do. And I found that it really, I like to do it in the shower because I can put soap on my neck and just do it, but I found that it does a lot of things for my shoulders, my back, the back side of my neck, the spine. It actually kind of helps to loosen a lot of that stuff up. Helps to loosen my jaw up. Helps to with draining in my ears. And just helps me to feel really good after, just really balanced and kind of like, kind of a feeling. So what it looks like is that you're just the fingers should go below the jaw, right? On both sides. See that? Should stay below the jawbone. And you don't want to lift your head up or anything like that. You just want to keep it neutral. And basically it's kind of no flicking, but gently going back. And those fingers should come right up underneath that jawbone. And you're going to want to do 50. So what's that, like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Remember to breathe in and out. Really important to remember to continue to breathe, relax breathing, like while you're doing it. And not, strain yourself or anything like that. It's just super light, just going through the muscle, just pulling everything. It can heat your body up if you're cold. You're probably going to find out. And it helps, if you're starting to get a little sick here and you've got your glands are getting all chunky monkey in there, it can really help with that and get your glands to drain in that area. And sometimes I have a bad tooth over here, but I'm really freaky mofeeky about dentists. So I like to go to biological dentists, and they're hard to find. And so it's usually a major trip somewhere to visit one. So I use things like this too to help to get all this stuff to drain and stay in balance and all kinds of stuff. And just because your tooth is aching or it's cracked or whatever else, or your filling fell out, really doesn't mean that you have to go to the dentist and have it refilled with more mercury so that you can have, more brain damage. You can use things like peroxide rinses, Himalayan salt washes. You should do Himalayan salt, like, I don't know, like about that much every day. Put it in your mouth, swish it around thoroughly through your whole mouth, because your teeth will absorb molecules, right, as a nutrient, and your teeth will become strengthened. And then, make sure you swallow it and drink a lot of water, because Himalayan salt has a lot of really great minerals in it. And then you could also use, peroxide rinses in your mouth that really help. And, do a oil pulling. Look up oil pulling for your teeth. And in some cases, people have regenerated their teeth using, even if they have a big hole in it because the filling fell out, they've regenerated part of their teeth from doing the oil pulling, which is basically, putting coconut oil in your mouth and swishing it for 20 minutes. Plus, it is antimicrobial and bacterial, so it kills all the stuff in there. Your supposed periodontal disease, which is scurvy, and a serious, vitamin C nutritional deficiency, but it can help with the bacteria and all that. So those are recommendations for your teeth. And this is a really good thing for your teeth, and, does a lot of really good stuff for you. Okay. The last part. So you could do, all of these together if you want as one whole package, or if you only have time to do one, or every day when you're in the shower, you just do this one, because it's a lot easier when you have soap. And it's nice when you have the hot water coming down on you, because it doesn't take very long to do. This one you can do like by your desk, or if you're driving down the road, or, whatever you're up to, or in a meeting, a boring meeting. You could work your thyroid. And then your K27s are these little bones that stick out here. You can feel them, you can feel like they're rounded. And this is where you really start to find how off you are, because you're going to find out that, put your fingers on the tips of those K27s, and usually one is shifted so much further. And that shows, the brain amount of brain lateralization that's going on. So the way that I've learned about the K27s is, first I learned about them I studied with a Lakota Sioux medicine woman who worked in energetic fields, and I did an apprenticeship with her in a training. And so my first learning was that this is your battery, your power area. And so if it's off, you're going to be exhausted. You're not going to have enough